Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President Joe Biden.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. It's an honor to be here. My name is Joe Biden. I work for President Bush. It's not part of the script, but let me just say one brief introductory comment. I carry in my pocket my schedule every day like all of you do. And Mr. President, every morning at 7 o'clock, I have my staff contact the Defense Department because I want to know exactly how many men and women have been killed in Afghanistan and Iraq. Not generically, exactly. Every single one of them leaves behind a whole community. Nothing angers me more, it's unfair of me, I know, when they say, well, roughly 6,800 killed in Afghanistan and Iraq. It's 6,842. There are 52,732, not 31, wounded. But you just saw the speakers and on television the incredible work that Mrs. Bush and President Bush are doing for these wounded warriors. There are estimated 300,000 coming home with post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. And they're always trained never to complain. My dad's expression, never complain and never explain. And they're trained not to ask for help. And so what our two speakers did earlier tonight, and all those who spoke, give people courage to come forward. Give people courage to come forward and seek the help they need. More people are dying in the military as a consequence of suicide than they are of anything else right now. So I can't tell you, Mr. President and Laura, how touched I was by, I know of the program, but seeing it and see your deep involvement in it, it really, really matters. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in the 2 years since President Obama and I left office, I've had the opportunity to take on a few new projects, including a professorship at the University of Pennsylvania, the Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement, thanks to President Gutmann, and the Biden Institute at the University of Delaware, working on domestic policy. But the biggest honor has been serving as chairman of the board of the National Constitution Center. This is an institution dedicated to preserving the fundamentals of our democracy and educating the next generation about the uniqueness and the audacity of our founding document. Folks, unlike any other country in the world, America is unique. Now, that's not chauvinism. It's a historical statement of fact. We are uniquely a product of our political institutions, unlike any other country in the world. We're not organized based on ethnicity, race, religion, tribe. We're organized around a set of ideals and values to which you must be committed to say you're an American. Enshrined in our Constitution. For 230 years, our Constitution has endured, guiding us through our many stumbles and shortcomings as a nation, while overseeing the inexorable march toward freedom and liberty. It's a document that makes no mention of political party or faction. Only we the people hold these truths self-evident, that all men are created equal. We say it all the time. We learn it when we're in school. But it really is who we are. We haven't always lived up to it, but we've never walked away from it. And so, folks, in the week following another contentious political season, the presentation of the Liberty Medal is a critical reminder that neither Republicans nor Democrats hold a monopoly on the values and ideals that define us as a nation. So I'm proud to be here tonight to honor President George W. Bush and the former First Lady, Laura Bush, who celebrate the values we share as Americans. It's no secret President Bush and I occasionally had our political disagreements. I remember one time in the Oval Office, Mr. President, you looking at me and saying, "Damn, Biden, you spent more time in this office than me than anybody else, including Republicans." But the fact of the matter is, I always respected the president. We had a disagreement on a number of issues, which we made pretty clear to one another in private. And we were never hesitant to tell each other the honest-to-God truth as we saw it. But that's the way the system is supposed to work. Voices raised in a contest of ideas to determine the direction we take as a nation. As President Bush was my opposition as the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, he was never my enemy. Think how demeaning our politics has become in terms of how we talk about one another. There's the opposition, not enemies. You know, where our priorities aligned, we work together. I think there's no better example of that, Mr. President, than the incredible legacy you left in the President's emergency plan for AIDS relief called PEPFAR. In the 90s and early 2000s, the AIDS epidemic in Africa was threatening to wipe out an entire generation of leadership, as well as an entire generation. But President Bush, you believed, with American leadership, we could turn that tide. So you put real political muscle and resources into making sure PEPFAR would be effective. And I was proud to play a small role as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee to twice see it authorized and make sure it was funded. Today, there are 14 million people receiving life-saving HIV treatment who otherwise would not have received it, would not receive the care because of PEPFAR, because of you. And we continue to work toward a world free of the specter of AIDS. PEPFAR is an incredible vision, and it continues to be an incredible demonstration of American values and America's capacity to do big things. I said at the time, and I'll reiterate it today, history will record as one of your greatest achievements, Mr. President, you've had many, that PEPFAR was one of them. Now that we're both out of office and continuing our public service through new avenues, we once again find ourselves on the same side of an important fight. This year, the Penn Biden Center of Diplomacy Engagement joined the George W. Bush Institute and Freedom House to undertake a study on, it's called the Democracy Project, a national and international survey to gauge attitudes, American attitudes, about the core democratic principles and how we could strengthen and support democracies around the world, because they're under siege in many parts of the world today. President Bush and Laura, we share a belief that those values which undergird our democracy are precious, and they exist way above party, and they have to be defended. That's the duty of patriots. That's the duty of patriots. And as a team, Laura, you and the President continue to take on big challenges in your post-White House years through your work at the George W. Bush Institute. And tonight, we recognize the impact you've made through your enduring commitment to supporting America's veterans and caregivers. And if my mother were here, looking at you, being married as long as you have, she'd say, "No purgatory for you, dear, straight to heaven, straight to heaven." Because you understand the sacrifice we ask of our men and women who wear the uniform of the United States and the toll that it takes on both the service members and their families. I've long said that we have many, many obligations as a country. But we only have, in my view, and I get criticized for saying it, but I'll say it again, we only have one sacred obligation, one truly sacred obligation, to properly equip those we send to war and care for them and their families, both while they're deployed and when they return. And it's not as easy as just picking up where you left off. That's why you created the Veterans Employment Transition Roadmap, a customized toolkit to help service members smooth the return back to civilian life. and find good jobs. And that's why you've made it a point to not just focus on mending physical wounds, but dealing with the unseen scars. Jill and I just worked with the Walking Wounded who walked across the United States 1,000 miles, Brits and Americans hand in hand, doing the same thing, trying to raise the level of awareness among veterans that it's okay, it's necessary, it's good to seek help. There is no stigma. Promoting awareness about mental health issues for servicemen and veterans and their families is one of the core issues my wife Jill and I focus on at the Biden Foundation. So I want to applaud everything you've done, both of you, to care, connect, and care these connect providers for the veterans who need help through the Warrior Wellness Alliance, ensuring our heroes and their families can reach out and get help, and it's there when they reach out for it. We have to eliminate the barriers that keep people from seeking and receiving the support they need in mental health. There's no difference between a mental health problem and a broken bone. It's a problem. It's a health problem. And as the Bushes know, it's about literally changing our culture. Our veterans and their family are so used to being strong, they have to know it's okay to ask for help. They have to know that when they ask for help, they'll be connected to the care and support they so badly needed. The Bush Institute Military Service Initiative has been a leader on these issues for many years, including a critical partner, the Joining Forces Initiative, which Jill, my wife, and the First Lady Michelle Obama started during our administration. And I know that you both feel this responsibility and this mission personally. It's a personal commitment you have. Mr. President, I've always been impressed by your ability to connect with people. And I deeply respect your commitment to Team 43, forming these personal relationships with our wounded warriors through sports and honoring their individual stories with the art of portraits of courage. It's incredibly personal to the Biden family as well. We learned that, what it means to be a military family when our son Bo was deployed to Iraq for a year. Came back a decorated soldier after a year, but his main concern, his plea to his mother, was as long as you're involved, please get involved in working on mental health problems for returning veterans. You know, we saw how difficult his absence was for his two young children. We prayed daily for his safety and those of his comrades. Every family member knows what it means to sacrifice. You know, the poet Keats said that, talking about service of families, said, they also serve who only stand and wait. They also serve who only stand and wait. And for every deployed soldier and everyone that was deployed and deployed now, there's someone standing and waiting and praying. It's not about, again, Democrats or Republicans. It's about who we are. It's about standing up for men and women who put their lives on the line to defend us every single day. It's about fighting for the soul of this nation that has given us so much. So thank you both, President Bush and Mrs. Bush, for your ongoing commitment to honor and support the brave men and women who serve in the United States military, who is, without fear of contradiction, the finest fighting force in the history of the world. That is not hyperbole. It's the finest fighting force in the world. And for all your efforts on their behalf. Now, I'm about to say the medal you're going to be presented, but I want to tell you, Mr. President, my wife Jill, who could not be with us tonight, wanted me to simultaneously present you both with a Philadelphia Eagles jersey tonight. President Bush asked me at the game night, he said, Joe, are you an Eagles fan? I said, Yes, unless I want to sleep alone. I married a Phillies girl. I married a Philly girl. Mr. President, on a very serious note, it's my honor to present you both with the National Constitution Center 2016 Liberty Medal. You both deserve it.